Good evening, viewers and listeners. We are live and welcome to the Seven Cities Shoptalk Sports Show, broadcasting live from the beautiful state of Virginia. To everyone all over the world, I am your host, Big Law Lawrence Johnson. And of course, I got my co-host with me as well. We're going to have a jam-packed show, of course, like I says, and I'll say this until football kicks off again. We are in the doldrums of sporting news, but it's a little hot right now in the world of University of Virginia as far as sports news and information. Also, still have the NBA going on, but college baseball is a hot button. Virginia UVA sports leadership is also under fire. But before we get going, we want to thank you for joining us in another episode of our brand of dysfunctional camaraderie. And as of now, this shop is open. And now let me introduce you to my co-host here. We got my man Ethan in the house, Ethan Sowers. What's going on, Ethan?
Just a typical Tuesday afternoon or evening, just winding down for the day and ready to dig into some UVA sports.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Sounds good. Also, looks like I got my man Wood in the building. We call him Chad Wood, our resident Skip Bayless. What's going on, C Wood? How you doing today, brother?
Hey guys, doing well. Hey, there's some feedback, so I'm not sure if someone's mic's not muted. There's a lot of kickback. Anyway, we're doing good, man.
Check,
Thanks
mic check 1, 2. Anybody out there can hear me? If you're in the chat, make sure you throw in some comments there. We will respond and also and kind of talk about what's on your mind as well. So this is a inclusive show, so everybody come on in and let's talk, man. So if you read the marquee or if you didn't, I'm going to tell you what the segments are today. Today's segment we're going to talk about is UVA baseball. Is UVA baseball worthy? Were they worthy of making the tournament? And what gives? What is all behind that? Could that have been the first straw that broke the camel's back, that started the avalanche, or cavalanche is what we would say out here, of what's the descending events of with the baseball program. Also, who's the next coach, at the University of Virginia? That's something else that we'll speak of as well. Then we'll say, another question I have for the viewers and listeners is, do you still have the love for the Virginia program, even though some legendary coaches, some good coaches are there? It seems like, we'll talk about this. It seems like there's a little bit of a disconnect, or, was it all about the coaches and not the school? Then we'll talk about Travis Hunter as well, who Travis Hunter just got married. From what I understand, a delightful young man, nice young man, nothing but good stories about him. Heisman Trophy winner. He just got married, having the time of his life, about to be, one of the youngest, wealthiest men in the league. And he didn't sign a prenuptial agreement. And there's been a lot of, what we'll say, I guess, smoke where there's fire, right? There's always smoke. And then there's some fire where, maybe the fiance and wife, maybe has some questionable ways of acting. But before we get into that, let's go ahead and just kind of jump into what the hot button is right now. Let's talk about UVA baseball. This will probably be one of the shows that we'll talk a lot about UVA baseball, like right off the bat. So let's get into it, man. And I'm gonna start with Wood. UVA baseball did not make the post, which is not necessarily something you're used to seeing a Coach O'Connor baseball team do. They usually make the postseason, and based off of their credentials, it seems like they should have made it. But kind of give me your idea and tell me how you feel about them not making the postseason, and you think that could have been something that that started this downfall.
Yeah, well, I won't say it started the downfall. It maybe had something to do with it, but I mean that's a big onion appeal right there. But should they have made the tournament? I would probably say yes. You took Miami Virginia swept Miami. Although Miami did win the regional, they're heading to the super regional. But you also had the RPI is a big thing with college baseball. So without getting into Carla Williams, so our midweek travel is limited who we can play because of basically Carla Williams. She doesn't want us traveling too far midweek. We need to be back for academics. However, that canceled series at Florida State with that shooting, God rest their souls. If we had played that series, we would have made the NCAA tournament, no doubt about it. We could have got swept, but our RPI would have gone up 20, 25 points. If we won a game or two, it would have probably gone up 30, 35. And if we won that series or swept them, it would have gone up 40. So that's how close we were. I think we ended up like the fourth team out, whatever. But the committee's got a hard job, just like March Madness. They have a hard job. So I'm not here to crucify the committee. They had a lot of teams to look at. Should we have been the fourth team out? Probably not. But, in my opinion, we should have made the tournament, but we certainly didn't do ourselves any favors. We lost a lot of midweek games. We lost a series to Boston College. We got knocked out in the first round. I think we gave up 5 or 6 runs in the first inning and lost to Boston College in the ACC tournament. So we did not do ourselves any favors, but I don't know. Did we deserve it? I mean, depends on what you mean by deserved. I would say yes, but we certainly lost a lot of games we should have won, and we started off slow. That really hurt us. But we probably should have scheduled a little bit difficult, and I think that's part of what O'Connor's trying to say when he left with the midweek limited travel. Mm-hmm. That's part of his reason, that he gave for leaving. But so I don't know. You can say we deserved it, or you can say we don't. It's on how you see it, but we had a great baseball team. Obviously, a lot of people are leaving now, but we're in an awkward spot. So, did we deserve to make it? I would say yes, but we certainly had the chance to make it, and we blew a lot of opportunities. I'll leave it at that.
And you kind of hit it on the head with that. We didn't do ourselves any favor in the ACC tournament. I think, like you said, it was razor thin. I think if they would have won one more game, if they would have beat BC, BC, what we call it, try hard, and just, was killing us on the bases, and we just really couldn't, we just really couldn't catch up on them guys, just killing us run bases, man. And and then the pitching, Wolfle got off to a bad start, and we never really recovered. The bats were there. What did we lose? 10-12, right? That game, which wound up being the last game of the year.
Yeah, but we lost the series to them earlier in the year. That really hurt us in Boston College.
Yeah, that too. But I think if they win, they go. They make the tournament. I think they get to the next, and I think it would have been Carolina, but they got they got that awesome, that freaking monster on the mound. He would have mowed everybody down like he's been doing. But I think if we would have got to the next level and played Carolina and played them, as well as we could, I think they would have made the tournament. So it was that much of a razor thin margin. Well, I think they didn't get in. But like you say, they had their chances within a year and they didn't make it. Ethan, let me ask you, what did you think? Should the baseball team have gotten in to the tournament?
Yeah, I'd say so. And I really like Chad's point, but to maybe add on from a different perspective, I mean, I read where Coach left, he really wanted to add on these extra scholarships to the program. And to me, from a whole different angle, had maybe he'd already had these extra scholarships this year, maybe we could have had a better team in depth with pitching and everything, to get farther get in the tournament and get farther. So to me, from a different angle of not even just actual play, but from the roster chart side of it, I think for sure we could have done it if he'd had more tools at his disposal.
From what I understand, Will, but this was one of the most talented teams ever. I don't think they just executed, from just like a
Yeah.
one-to-one talent standpoint. Wasn't this one of the most talented teams ever assembled? If you just look at like individualized, if you looked at each player, you know, per their credentials, who they were,
They
and how talented they were.
But how much
were
better could it have been on top of that, though, if they
What was
had
that?
those extra scholarships?
they were preseason ranked number 2 overall in the country. They were number 2 to
Right,
start the season.
How many players
right,
went to
right.
other
Well,
schools that could have been on the Virginia roster that could have made them number one, you know?
I don't think so. I don't think that.
I mean, you're only
I
going to get
just
so
don't think
much
the
better when you
kids
have a team like
executed.
that, but which I do agree to that.
I mean, yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, how many? I
It's a lot of
mean,
what
then
ifs,
you're
of
talking
course. It's just
about
like drafting
guys
an
that
NFL
are.
player.
There's not a lot of guys that are going to be that are not going to be playing. You get a few more scholarships, sure, but I just don't think the execution was there. For like Wood said, preseason ranked number 2. You know,
I mean,
that's
preseason
like
never means anything, though, in
Florida
any sport,
State.
though.
No, it doesn't. But if you have enough talent to get to that kind of a ranking, if you're a top 20 team, based off of your talent, and you look at the previous year where you still had a lot of talent left, and then you added on to that already, what's a few more scholarships going to do? I don't think it was adding a few more scholarships is the reason why they failed. It wasn't just like
No,
a
I'm
one couple
that's the reason
couple
that's
players
why they
kind of a
fell with a
thing. It
few more.
was the entire team was struggling for the most part.
Yeah, Blanco, they had some injuries. I think O'Connor was more so looking for depth when he asked for. I think he wanted 32, 34 scholarships was his final offer, but Blanco being hurt really hurt
Mm-hmm.
us because he's a starting pitcher. He can also come out of the bullpen and go deep, but he got hurt. He never really was a set. He never really. He was
Right.
never at 100% out of the bullpen or a starter. We started him a couple games, but no, I mean it's just a sad situation all around for UVA baseball. I mean we lost a legend. Obviously, yeah, I'm talking like he passed away, but no, we lost O'Connor, and obviously Henry Ford. You got Eric Becker, you got Thomas Valinkas, you got all these players leaving to be expected. But it's like, where do we go from here? And I don't think it was a whole lot that needed to be done to keep him. I could be speaking out of turn, but it's just we're just in a bad spot right
Well,
now
well,
with baseball and other sports. To be honest,
well. Before we get into a whole lot could have been done to keep him. Um, who's on your wish list of coaches that are out there who you think could? I don't know if you ever feel a legend's shoes the way that a lot of players or coaches would love for some coaches to do, but on who's on your wish list? Now that we you kind of feel and getting over what Coach O'Connell left. So who do you want? Who's on your wish list, Wood?
definitely the coach from Duke. Sorry, I'm not up on names. I was reading a
Wake
couple
Forest. I
articles
heard the
looking
Wake
at some
Forest guy.
guys really quickly in D1 baseball. The guy from Duke, the guy from East Carolina. I really like the guy from Coastal
Mm,
Carolina, but that's his alma mater, and they said he'll never leave. And then there's the head coach at UConn who took them to a regional, I believe. I don't think they made the super regional, but there's 4 or 5 that D1 baseball is talking about. So it's not like we're hiring lower level coaches, which I was afraid we were going to do. So we'll see who the hire is. But if I had to choose one guy, it'd be the dude from Duke.
guy from Duke. Okay, all right. Let me come to you, Ethan. Who, in your mind, would you want the coach to replace?
I haven't went real far in the depth, but one guy that stuck out on multiple forums that I've read from like Virginia Cavaliers, 247, etc., is the coach from Duke. Real sad quick note. I'm just gonna skip over it. I just seen where Virginia football added a lacrosse player to the tight end, a former Cornell lacrosse player just got added onto the UVA roster for tight end 3 hours ago. But anyway, yeah, I really like the coach from Duke. Past that, I haven't really looked into prior coaches' history. I mean, really anybody that has post season experience would be a perk, or success in the postseason. At that point, I'd have to dig into who's done what. But I've read the East Carolina coach. I don't know his name, but I had briefly read over that.
I think he's a great pick, the East Carolina coach. Not saying that he does more with less, but some people may say that he does more with less, and they're perennial in their division as well, and they have always done well as far as I can remember. I also have a brand down there that I got some guys who actually cover ECU and baseball down there is big business like it is up here, and ECU is always tearing up their conference and always showing out. And I want to say a couple years ago they actually had I believe some of the super regionals in Greenville down there, and they deserve it because they just keep on doing what they're doing. So
Don't rule out don't
the
rule out Connecticut.
What was that?
Don't rule out the coach from Connecticut. Yeah, he's turned that program
UConn,
around.
I got you.
I know they made their regional. I think they lost, but you know his name? Did you say it?
So yeah. Now, like Ethan said, not a bad idea. We want somebody with some postseason experience, and maybe a little younger. O'Connell has a ridiculous resume, so maybe you want to get a little bit of a younger player, a younger coach. There for the players.
Wake Forest
Maybe that's
is
going
the
to help
other
a
one
little
that I
bit as
saw.
well.
Wake Forest's head coach, Tom Walter.
That's what I was saying.
He probably ruined that last night.
Last night. Well, I know that he's isn't he a pitcher's manager?
His homophobic spur on national TV, that probably ruled Virginia out.
Yeah.
I didn't really. I heard about it, but I didn't really exactly hear what was said. But
it was bad.
Was it Northeastern and Xavier are also possible candidates?
I think all candidates are open when you're talking about UVA in a program that's used to winning at a level that they're used to winning. National champion, always. What is it? 60% of the time, 70% of the time, they're in the postseason. Typically, do well in the tournament or do decent enough in the tournament to make it to a postseason play. So anyone who's a reputable coach who's looking for a place to go, this is one of the premier places. I mean, it's not, Texas, Oklahoma, Florida, some of those other places, but it's right there. It's up there. Ole Miss, LSU, some of those places where they're, you're talking SEC baseball too, but ACC baseball is nothing to sneeze at either, because at one time I remember ACC having 10 teams in the top 25, something ridiculous like that, or 8 teams in the top 25. But
is there any
of course,
major league
getting
candidates
into
that would
the
be
next
open?
major league candidates,
Yeah, is there anybody in major league
possibly,
that would stick out?
Not really at this time. Not really at this time. Right now, we're not in the mid-season. They're not even to the All-Star break yet, so you can't really not necessarily think of a coach right now for UVA. They just got to get somebody right now. They got to get somebody who's a college, a really successful, credentialed coach who can get the talent in, can draw the talent in, and do a quick, not necessarily a rebuild, but a reload. Would you agree with that, Wood?
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be somebody that's established in D1. It can't be a lower level program. They got to get somebody like the Duke coach. They got to get somebody that's established. Carla's got to hire somebody with a big name because, as you know, I mean, not only the fan base but the
and I don't think you can go pro either.
No, we're not going to get a pro coach. No, we have to get a D1 established coach that's having success right now. And again, the perfect hire would be the guy from Duke, to be honest. But we have to hire somebody that's well known, and we got to throw money at them to get them to leave where they're at. We have to, because if we hire somebody, say at a lower level program, the fans aren't going to be in it. They're already mad. We got to get somebody that's been successful on a high level.
So what if she does hire somebody that's the no name or lower level? Like what's your output as a fan, Chad?
Well, I mean, everyone's already pissed off. So, I mean, you're talking about attendance, you're talking about donors pulling money, you're talking about people canceling season tickets. But if she can hire somebody that, I mean, at this point, will give some hope for the future. I mean, O'Connor was a legend. I mean, he won a national championship, so we cannot settle for someone less, like a lower level program, and help build this program. We got to have somebody that's already. We've got to steal somebody, to be honest.
You muted, Big Wall.
Well, Ethan is poking you, Chad. He's already trying to get you to speak about some topics that you that I know you feel passionate about. So go ahead and ask him, Ethan. I'll let you guys have the floor right now.
Well, I mean, Chad, I mean, where do you want to see with the current administration in place with president and athletic director? Like, how do you feel, and what do you want to see happen?
Lead me into it, ain't you, buddy? No, I mean, at some point, we lost a lot of good coaches under Carla. And I'm not putting everything on Carla. Don't get me wrong, but the Board of Visitors are meeting tomorrow through Friday, so I don't know if any big news is going to come out of that. But, I mean, at some point, again, I'm not blaming Carla 100%, but he wanted more scholarships, and to my knowledge, he wasn't going to give him but 20 scholarships. It's hard to compete with 20 scholarships, so I won't go all in on Carla tonight. It's not the time or place, but I think a lot of people feel like I do, and a lot of donors are pulling their money, so it's not all Carla's fault, but she certainly has a lot to do with it. What do you think, Ethan?
Well, it depends if I look at it from a business standpoint or a fan standpoint, because how I feel doesn't really translate to what's actually happening,
We'll give both sides here. We ain't got nothing but time. Go with it.
All right. Well, from a fan standpoint, I mean, maybe it's childish, maybe it's not, but you go for good times and bad times in sports, winning, losing. You can't win every year. I mean, maybe some places can, but like when I look back as me as a fan from an early 2000 perspective, like where I could really make my own decisions under like late Welsh and Al Groh as far as football or other sports. We weren't good in basketball for a while until Tony came. We've had hits and misses as far as good and bad seasons, but I'm just getting to the point where it just thing after thing keeps happening. There's not really anything to replace it that's good. And to be honest, I'm almost at in UVA sports. To be honest, I really don't care about side sports. That's what I like to call them. Like I mainly care about football, basketball, baseball. We can talk about swimming and all the championships and that's great, but Virginia Tech doesn't care about that stuff. But all the years we watched Virginia Tech beat us, the wait finally for Bronco to come and finally win, and then him leave, taking us to Orange Bowl, and all these fans that wanted him out, and then Tony leaving for, I guess, the way the Wild West is now in college sports, and then now for O'Connor to leave, it's like I'm at the point where if it's just the same shit as last year with Tony Elliott making all these excuses and Bowl, I'm almost out as a fan. I'm at that point where if I were to say I was a Washington fan, I don't know how much longer you can hang in there when Dan Snyder was there because it was so bad of just the organization never turning itself around. Are we going to get a turnaround here at some point, or is it just going to keep being the same slippery slope? That's kind of where I'm at as a fan. But from I guess a business standpoint, like Chad said, Carla can't fully control everything. And I think to an extent she's trying, but I mean, he had already signed an extension for money. So for me, I don't think money as much played a factor for Coach leaving, I just think that her hires need to start producing because I'm not really pleased with what they've done so far. Anybody that she's hired, other than maybe the women's basketball coach, what have they produced? So I'm still waiting to see that from her hires.
Interesting take on that, Ethan. And you have somewhat of a point where there was a lot of folks. Shout out to my folks in the chat, Antonio Apple, but he's saying, yeah, that's right. We got number time. We got a little while before football's here, so we can go ahead and let it loose here for a little bit. So, yes, there is a growing, I guess what we'll say, Wood and Ethan, is a growing swath of fans, donors, people who are upset right now, and I guess it's the Virginia that they know is being somewhat changed. But like you also said, Wood, is it all her fault? But it seems like it could be crafted, or a lot of folks are almost making it out to be all her fault. Tony Bennett leaving, that I don't know. That give me your take on that, Wood, because that this is a raw situation. So everybody's feeling, upset and sensitive about O'Connell because I think really because of Tony leaving just not even a year ago. Tony not being here. And then of course a year and a half before that, Broncos not here. So I just think that there's, maybe the scab is kind of healing, and then there's another tear off, to tear the scab off again, then it's healing again, and then not long down the road, before time is gone, too much time has elapsed, another, scab has been torn off. So, give me your opinion on that. I think it's I don't know. I get what you're saying too, Ethan, about the results. You need some results, but you also need some replacements. I mean, in your opinion, Wood, is it that is how much of that you think is because of Carla, the Tony Bennett leaving? A lot of folks said has really nothing to do with him because of Tony left because of the way college basketball is. It was less about Carla. It was more about, trying to compete, and trying to, pay kids and do all that stuff. And that's kind of what turned Tony away, almost 100% of that. Give me your opinion on that, Wood.
Yeah, no, I won't put Tony Bennett leaving on her much at all. I think he left because NIL and trying to be a general manager and recruit kids and pay money and all that. So I won't put any of that on Carla. But when this broke with Brown O'Connor, I think a lot of it has to do with Carla because they went from what I'm hearing is we were only going to fully fund 20 scholarships in college baseball. And she took a lot of money out of baseball to go to football, which is fine. But that puts a lot of pressure on the fall season with Tony Elliott and her as well. But as far as Tony Bennett goes, I don't think anybody could have kept Tony Bennett. He was tired of the recruiting, the money, the NIL, and all that. But I think when this broke with Brown O'Connor, I think it was a lot of Carla Williams with the lack of funding of scholarships. And I think they were burning, excuse me, burning the midnight oil. And I think Saturday night, a lot of donors came together and said they were going to fund a lot of scholarships. But I guess Brown O'Connor, from his point of view, if I need something, do I have to threaten to lead every time I need something. It shouldn't be that way, especially for a coach that won a national championship. And, they were going to close the baseball program altogether before O'Connor got here. So I won't blame any of Tony Bennett on that, but I think when it came to O'Connor, I think Carlos got a lot to do with it. And I think, the basketball hire was decent. Tony Ellett hasn't panned out really well. So I think there's a ton of pressure on them in the fall. But so as far as Tony Bennett, I don't blame her much at all. But for O'Connor, I think she had a lot to do with it. So we'll see where it goes.
Appleby Antonio saying more money for coaches, staff, and players is not just the coaches' coaches' pay. He also says UVA fans need to unball their consistently clenched fist and grab more alcoholic beverage. The fists are definitely clenched. I think that there's definitely more of there's anger, on the grounds right now, and I think that there's definitely an opportunity to I say reload. We're not gonna say rebuild. We'll say reload, because you're not gonna do what you need to do with this program starting from scratch, and it doesn't need to be started from scratch as well. He also says baseball loses money, and it's financed by football. Welcome to the new age of athletic, folks. Sure. That's always kind of been the tale, when it comes to that. But yeah, so let's see who's in line, because that's the next thing. Who's up next. I think that they did all right with Odom, and then when I've seen how Odom is rebuilding the program, I'm okay with that. I think I like how the coach is really just like Coach Bennett. He would bring in kids to fit his system. This seems like this coach has a grasp on talent and what kind of talent he wants for the system as well. And he's recruiting totally based on that, whether it's freshmen or NIL transfer portal kids, and that's what you want. And you want somebody who can pull kids in, and he has a European player flavor to his style of recruiting as well, which I like that as well, because if you know anything about basketball is definitely an international sport by all means here. Applebee's also saying a top 2 to 3 funded program in the ACC is top 15 nationally. What more do you want? I got you. And Larry Belcher, what's going on, buddy? That's my brother right there. He says, yeah, part of the spirit of baseball. We did the baseball, had our baseball clinic a few weeks ago in Richmond, and we taught, I think we had 9 basic skills of baseball, and we it was a Christian baseball camp. Each kid that came, they got a hat, an outfit, a ball, a glove, a Bible. We fed them. We gave them the word at lunch. It was a glorious event, and we've been doing it for over 15 years. So that's my buddy right there, who actually had the idea come to him, and I've been on board with him from day one. But yes, I am a huge baseball fan too, big time Orioles guy. I should have had you out there, Wood. Come out there and help coach some of these kids. It was inner city kids, a lot of kids that really hadn't played baseball, but we were using, the Lord and and baseball to separate them from gangs and stuff like that. But yeah, it was great, man. We had them all day. We taught them basic skills and actual games afterwards as well. So yeah, maybe next year I can get some of you guys out there and hang out and you can bring some of your boys and they can be some coaches, because we had some kids that had already played that were of the same age of the players, and they actually helped coach some of the kids who hadn't played before. You know what I mean? So, but it's a great camp, man. Great camp. But yeah. So let's get into do you still love Virginia sports, y'all? Some folks, it seems like they're jumping off the cliff. Ethan, I'm gonna come to you. Seems like some fans are jumping off the cliff because their favorite coaches are leaving. Do you still love the university as much as you ever did?
I mean,
Is it just because of the coaches is why you love the program so much, or can you get not gonna say get over, but can you transition and open your mind more and not be so over the top about losing a good coach, which good coaches leave good programs all the time. And do you have faith in the school rebuilding or reloading?
I think this season for me, well, football was where I mainly become a fan. I think for me, uh, how this season goes in football because of the years given to build a program and the transfer portal of all this hype about talent he has coming in and whatnot and recruits. I think it's a make or break season for me. I might still be a Virginia fan, but there might be a West in front of it after the season, after football season. That's just where I'm at. I need to see success. Now, there's other factors like injuries, people deciding to transfer out, whatnot. But I'm just, I think from a perspective of I've just been weak in football, which is just what matters to me the most, if I'm being blunt. I'm just, I think I'm at my edge with things. I'm just, like I keep up with basketball, but I never played basketball, so I don't have a passion to it like you guys do. Baseball I played, but I keep up with it, but it's not been always been my passion. Virginia football has been my passion, and just from a fan standpoint, I don't think a coach leaving makes or breaks you. It breaks me personally, but I think an inconsistent program has kind of broke me more than anything. Are you muted again, my Well?
Another host of the Seven City Shop Talk, Amy, is chiming in. She's on the still on the field right now with her baseball kids. She's saying, so here is my take. The SEC has had a whole lot with the NIL money than any other league. They have been doing that crap under the table for years. So the ACC, Big Ten are behind the eight ball. Unless we get better TV money contracts, we are going to be behind. However, with baseball, we still have more teams than the SEC left. And Amy says she's out on the field. Well, thank you for chiming in on that, Amy. I know this is something that's near and dear to your heart as well. Working with the youth. And let me come to you with that, Wood. How do you feel? Is the love different? Is the love the same or is it not moving forward with UVA football, basketball, the whole athletic program?
No, I mean I bleed orange and blues, but it is getting difficult with legend coaches leaving. Amy mentioned NIL. That's not really the problem because in football we spent the most NIL money we've ever spent. Baseball, I don't think NIL was really that big a deal. O'Connor wasn't talking about his salary or anything like that. He was a top 10 paid coach in Division One. He was just wanting more scholarships to fund the baseball program. So I don't think we could solely blame NIL. But to answer your question, no, I mean I still support the team. I'll be there in the fall in football. Baseball to be tough for me, but I'll still go back and support whoever the new coach is. I think it's not fair if we don't support the new coach because we're setting them up for failure. Same with basketball. I'll be there with Ryan Odom, but it when legendary coaches leave, it kind of makes it difficult to be as bought in as a coach. As a fan as you always were. But I'm a fan. I'll always be a fan, so I'll be bought in. But like Ethan said, it's getting harder because you almost wonder, like with basketball tickets, they're increasing the donations, the ticket prices. Football the same way. Baseball, who knows what they'll do. That's a good weekend, affordable for your family. So who knows if that stays the same. But yeah, I'm always a fan. I'll always be the fan. I'll always be there. But it is getting more difficult. I will say that.
Well, let me ask you this, and I'll ask both of you this. I'm gonna start with you, Ethan. what program out of the three that's going to have new coaches, or including not necessarily not a new coach. Let's just say out of Coach Elliott, Coach Odom, and whoever the new baseball coach is, who's going to have the most success? I'm going to start with you, Ethan. Who's going to
Well,
have
I
the
could
most
say,
success out of those three programs?
oh, well, three.
Out of the three, who's going to have the
Uh,
best success next year?
I'll tell you this: who's going to have the least is baseball because there's a lot of transfers going out. It's taking a little bit of time to get recruits back in and reestablish that, like, hey, we're a program rebuilding, and I just think baseball's recruits are going to look other places with a coach leaving. Basketball would be my second pick. I just think that he's going to still have to prove himself. He's going to have to get his recruits in. I think he's going to have to play the portal more when he plays recruits this year. Just being a new coach, trying to get things going. I mean, it's kind of from one perspective, you can't really count wins because they play so many more games of basketball. But from success standpoint, I'd like to say, even though I'll call it like it is. I'm a hater. I'm a hater of the Elliott regime, but I do think he'll have the most success out of the three. I think he's had enough time to build, and it's either now or never. But I would say he's gonna have the most time to establish himself. Now, if you put Odin against whoever the new baseball coach is, I'm going with Odin because I feel like it's a lot easier to get basketball going with less players than it is baseball.
I feel like that was my take. I felt like Tony has had Elliott saying I feel like he's had time to build into this new regime, and it seems like he finally got a little bit, got his rhythm in bringing in some talent other than FCS talent. It's like they really got into the rhythm of putting money out there to attract this talent. Antonio Appleby coming to you, Wood, in a sec. He says UVA fans happy. Yeah, oh no, kicking it first. You're right, Appleby. UVA has been very traditional about what they want to do and conservative wise, and yeah, they went kicking and screaming into this new age of athletics, but they have to do it in order to compete. And and it wasn't like they didn't have the money or the donors or the folks who was willing to give. Obviously, you see that they do, but yeah, they got dragged into this new age kicking and screaming, and it may wind up benefiting them because they do have the resources. And all it takes is anything else, and you guys know how it goes, is a spark. You said, Ethan, before the show, we alluded to Dan Snyder, right? How Dan Snyder has had Washington in the dungeon. And Wood, you'll smile at this, Wood. We've been in the dungeon and for 25 years, over 25 years, and trying to get out of it, in the NFL, not just the NFC East, just an awful, awful time under this regime. And then, you get, 1 year or 1.5 years and you get a new owner, but then you get a new coach, new head coach, new quarterback, new everything. And all of a sudden the team is kind of caught fire. And now there's a whole different identity to what this team is and a whole different meaning of what it means to be a Washington football fan. So let me come to you because like I said, all it takes is a spark from one of the programs, and maybe that synergy of success can start kind of like how, spring sports that typically start off where, all of a sudden, boom, soccer's doing good. Track team's doing good. Baseball's doing good. Softball's doing good, based off of last year, I'm saying. And it was like one of the most successful spring sports programs, in some time that UVA had. And I just feel like it's got to catch fire somewhere. And if it does, then we can start looking at some different things. Amy saying Tony is not going to have the success everyone thinks. Okay, I can understand why Amy says that. Odom is more likely the coach that'll do it. And CTE and staff just hosted a 7-on-7 tourney that was big talent on grounds. Fill us in on some more of that because I couldn't get out there for that, Antonio. Some more information on that if you would. Let me come to you, Wood. Who's going to have the most success out of those three coaches?
I mean, that's a difficult question because we don't know who the baseball coach is going to be. If it's the guy from Duke, I think he's going to have a lot of success, but we probably won't hire him. That's just because a bad omen, I feel. But I like the Duke coach. If we can get him, I think the baseball program, if we can get over the sadness and the anger we have right now, we're going to show up to Davenport Field. So I think the baseball coach will be set up for success. Will they be successful? I don't know. It depends on recruiting and all that. Odom has obviously recruited very well with NIL. Tony Elliott, they've spent a lot of money. I don't know if you're asking me to pick one what is success for Tony Elliott? Is it a bowl game? Is it 8 wins?
I think success. Well, we talked about it. A success is 7 to 8 wins and a bowl appearance. I think that is definitely success when you're talking about a program that's been averaging 3 wins a year. 7 wins, 7 to 8 wins, bowl appearance, maybe a good showing in the bowl, or maybe even a bowl win.
Beat Tech.
Can they do that though with their schedule? I mean, does their schedule line up with the talent they have right now?
Yeah, the schedule is not one of the strongest.
Schedule's not tough.
No, based off of, you never know, but yeah, based off of what people are saying now in the strength of schedule, UVA has one of the weakest strength of schedules in college football.
So I don't know. I don't know if Odom was a great hire, but I think we're still waiting on the NCAA to rule on one of the best players that we could potentially have. If those guys can gel, if I had to pick one coach who had the most success this upcoming year, I'd say it's Odom.
Okay, so you got Odom, man. Okay, I like it. I think Odom is definitely.
But then again, if we win 6 games and beat Tech in football, is that success?
Yes, that is
where
success.
do we define
That's success.
If we beat Tech, I'll take that as a win any year.
If they win 6-7 games and they beat Tech, that's successful. We've only beat just to be able to beat Virginia Tech and have 6 games. When's the last time they did that? They've only beaten. Oh, look at Amy. I knew she was going to chime in. I knew she ain't going nowhere. Amy was waiting on that. Yeah, I know Amy was waiting on that one there. Yes, that would be successful because the last time, Bronco was the last one who did it 6-7 years ago, right? And 6 years ago, and I don't know.
2019.
Yeah, so I don't know, but that would be considered a success. University of Virginia football, and you start getting into 7, 8, 9 wins. That is a success for that program. From a program that has only one double-digit win on their football resume since its inception. So,
is it really a success though on a weak schedule?
It is for this program.
Why? I have a different philosophy on that because I'm gonna take this from a different spin. When Skylar does pageants, and I go, she's a state competitor now, and I go against the town local fair queens. There's certain areas we can go, and it's almost guaranteed we'll win because she's so polished. But when we go to a state, it's not the same. So it's like, to me, it's like taking candy from a baby. Did I really win because I had easy opponents, or did I really win it because I earned it? And to me, this program's going to have to earn it. They're going to have to be dominant for me to respect a 7-8 win.
I don't think this program doesn't have the lineage for that philosophy. They just need to win. I would love for it to be dominant. I would love for a dominant football program somewhere, whether you're dominant in offense or dominant on defense. Hell, I'll take dominance on special teams. Just dominance. So we haven't been dominant. So, right. Look at Antonio said it right there. He says fans think too much. He said they get their asses in the game and want to have a good time. No, but I'm telling you, 7 games, 8 games, that's a big deal for UVA football. What did Bronco have? 9, right? When we won the
Uh,
Coastal, it was 9 wins.
I think so.
Yeah, it was 9 wins. That's a big deal. Like I said, 10 wins is the most amount of wins that this squad or this program has ever had.
Because the year before we got 8 because of the Belk Bowl win.
Right. So yeah, 7, 8, 9. You start getting into that kind of and then once they can establish something like that, then we can start looking at, okay, can we do this consistently? But just to get there, they need to get to consistently winning. That's the first step. I just
Then we
can't
got the
think
week
of
schedule. We need week schedule.
well. When you say week schedule, I'm talking about week schedule compared to what everybody else plays. This is just a week schedule, like I said, based off of what everybody else plays, and also UVA typically is one of those teams that are part of the week. Let's be frank. They haven't been winning. We haven't had a history of long-term and consistent winning. So UVA is one of the weeks. So we're in that week area of college football, and they got to break out of that.
What do you consider long term though? Not winning though. What, like 10 years, 20 years? Like what do you consider that?
I think 5 years of bowls.
Well, what about in the 90s under Welsh and into the early 2000s? That was consistent winning, right?
Yeah, that was consistent winning for sure. So
it's
possible.
It's possible at this university.
Oh, nobody said it wasn't possible, but I'm saying in order for this new age, what we're talking about, this program, 5 years of like consistent winning, over 500, bowl appearances. Let me mute you right quick, Ethan. Yeah, bowl appearances. That's the kind of thing that that's going to get this program turned around. It can't be like, oh yeah, we went 1 year, we won a Coastal 1 year, and then we only win 6 or 5 than the year before. It has to be a consistent, 6 games, 7 games, 8 games, 7 games, 8 games. It has to be that in order to think, okay, this program is really on the up and up. And then on top of it, you got to add the recruits behind it. You got to start bringing in, hiring recruits, regardless of where they're from, in-state, out-of-state, all over. You think about how North Carolina does a great job of, pulling kids out of the state of Virginia, all over Virginia. You got to start turning that tide. You got to start pulling kids out of North Carolina up to Virginia. And those are the kind of things that great or good programs that can consistently win or have the appeal to these younger players in the NIL, in the transfer portal. They want to come to a program. And it seems like one thing that we can say that Coach Elliott and his squad has done has had somewhat a measure, not a lot, but a measure of success when it comes to the transfer portal. What would you like to add to that, Wood?
I mean, when you think about the money,
get back to you, Ethan.
When you think about the money we spent in NIL, I mean, 6 wins has got to be the floor this year. So hopefully he does well. Hopefully we'll win 6, 7, 8, 9 games and we move forward. But with taking money from the baseball program, putting it into the football program, there's a ton of pressure on Carl Williams and Tony Elliott this fall. I mean, you could say 6 wins, but I think that would be the floor. That's what they have to achieve to keep the fans off everyone's back. But also, if you can get 7 or 8, I think that'd be great. But the level of pressure now that O'Connor has left, I think it adds a ton of pressure to the football program.
I agree. I think you're on point with that. It's a pressure cooker for sure, and it's boiling over right now. If it wasn't boiling before, which it was, it's even more so boiling over right now because of, number one, the taking of the perception, whether it's real or not, the perception of taking from a baseball program that had much success, that was one of the pillars of UVA sports, losing a legendary coach and putting it into something that's a bad investment, some people will call, because the football program just hasn't been successful enough. Yeah, it's bad. It's like, what do they say, Wood or Ethan? If none of you guys heard that term, throwing good money behind bad money, right?
I mean, my other perspective is too. It's like when recruits look at Virginia now, there's NIL. How many recruits look at like, well, I don't want to. I can get money anywhere. So why do I want to go to Virginia and have this much harder of GPA and academic standards when I could go to like somewhere's like I don't have an example of exact college because I don't know everybody's GPA standards, but a college that's the level of Virginia or a little better and get the same money and make it a lot easier academically to not have to worry about school as much, you know. Um, Also, side note, I'm looking at the 2026 football schedule just because, like, I want to look at longevity, consistency, if the football program can continue to do, if they can have a good season this season. And one note is we do have West Virginia and Charlotte next year, 2026. So that'll be an interesting matchup, maybe.
Oh, you mean next year? Okay, yeah, gotcha. Antonio Appleby saying the baseball program does not make money. He said that's why they support the revenue sports. Yeah, he's absolutely right. He's right. The baseball UVA baseball program most certainly made money. Okay, here we go. We got Amy saying they did make money. App says that they don't. That'll be interesting. I guess some research that I guess we'll have to do to see, who made money, who didn't. But typically the football program does, and some basketball programs make the money for all sports programs in most college environments. But it's starting to heat up. Absolutely, you gotta believe.
So I just Googled this. Doesn't mean that's right. It says the University of Virginia UVA baseball does not make money. It operates at a loss. In fact, most college baseball programs are not revenue generating sports. UVA baseball program reported a 3.1 million loss in 2023 of ticket sales only generating $444,397 according to public records. And baseball programs are totally subsidized by other sports, particularly football. Basically saying that football generates all the money.
That's typically the case.
Yeah, I mean that's
and
I mean,
only certain.
that's common sense. Football makes your most money. Basketball typically makes your second best money. But when you have a baseball program that's doing well and you get the fans out there, you get support behind the fans, you get the big donors. I mean, the Board of Visitors are meeting tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday. That's not for no reason. I mean, let's not say the baseball team doesn't matter because it certainly does because you got a lot of big time donors that are pissed off and withdrawing their money, not only from baseball, but from the VF in general because O'Connor's leaving. And that's why the Board of Visitors are meeting. So let's not, of course, baseball doesn't make as much money as football and basketball by any means. Neither does soccer, neither does tennis, but we're fully funding those programs with full scholarships. So why are we only funding 20 scholarships in baseball when you need 34 to compete? That's why O'Connor left because it's not because he's in your salary. He's top 10 paid coach in the country at Virginia. Mississippi State probably paid him more to come there, but he also has fully funded scholarships to offer whoever he wants, probably 30 to 34 at Mississippi State. I don't know the number. So obviously baseball doesn't make as much money as football and basketball. And I mean, that's common sense, but let's not act like it doesn't matter.
App, is that a you say the board, is that just a coincidence that the Board of Visitors are meeting? He says the Board of Visitors meet every 4 years. Is it 4 years time to meet for the Board of Visitors? Negative, bad information.
I mean, that's a hell of a coincidence if it is.
What was that? Oh, hell of a coincidence, right?
Yeah, especially with Jim Ryan being on the hot seat too. So we'll see.
Yeah. Bad information. What's negative, bad information? He says they meet every year, every 4 years, just like clockwork. Okay. We got some debaters in here. We got some, and that'll be something obviously, we'll have to bring up. down
but
the.
I mean, even if it is scheduled, you think they're not going to talk about Jim Ryan and Carl Williams
Ain't
and
no
Ronald
doubt
Johnson?
about it. Ain't no doubt about it. They're gonna talk about everything.
Right. Are there big
They're gonna
changes
talk about
coming by the end
everything.
of? Are there big changes coming by the end of Friday? We'll see.
Mm.
The chief
Yeah.
financial officer of EAF just stepped down today, so I think there's something to it.
Mm. Okay. Okay. Amy says they meet every year. And then Appleby comes back. Antonio said every 4 years, just like clockwork. Okay. We got differentiating opinions on this here. Or but this is what it's about. A little bit of debate, a little bit of banter, some talk, but this is cool. This is some information. So let's get on to the next topic. Let's talk about Travis Hunter and how Travis Hunter didn't sign a prenup moving forward. And I think everybody in the world is frightened for Travis for obvious reasons. Ethan, let me speak to you about this. What do you know? How do you feel about this Travis situation? Travis Hunter not getting a prenup, getting married, and some questionable behavior possibly in the past
I
by his
mean,
spouse.
I got two different perspectives, but my first perspective is he's a grown man, even though he's still young. He make his own decisions. It ain't none of my business, to be honest. Whether it's a good decision or a bad decision, I can't answer that. I made plenty of bad decisions that definitely I could have done better on when it comes to the dating world. I know firsthand that one bad decision can be a lifetime of bad decisions you weep. So I think from a perspective of I don't care. I watch a lot of Dave Ramsey, and one thing he talks about is when you get married, it's no longer your money, it's our money. So, if they get divorced, it's our money they're splitting, or their money they're splitting. When you get married, you're no longer it's no longer me, it's us. So, to me, from a moral standpoint, I fully support it. Now, will it work out for him? Depending on the person he married, that's a different story. But if they married for the right reasons, it don't matter. But if he married for the right reason and she married for the wrong reason, well, he'll find out soon enough.
Okay, let me come to you, Wood. That was a good take, Ethan. Let me come to you. What do you think about the Travis Hunter situation? Getting married and not having a prenup. You hear me, Wood? Look like you're on mute.
You got me?
There you go. Now I got you.
No, I said I love my wife dearly. We've been together 18 years, married for 15. But if I'm making millions of dollars, you better bet your ass we're signing a prenup. It's got nothing to do with trust. Got nothing to do with none of that. If I'm making millions, we're signing a prenup. That's all it is to it. I wish them well, and I hope they're married forever. But you better sign the prenup.
Oh, Wood. Oh, Amy's still chewing on that. She goes, so in order to get the correct financial numbers, you need to look at 2019 because COVID messed up the numbers. Okay. 2020, 2023.
I want to
That
ask.
young
Well,
man
I'm
is
pretty
a
sure that
fool for
cat's
no
like that
prenup.
person.
Huh?
Hey,
I want to hear
Amy, you ain't got the link.
He's Antonio saying they actually meet more often. I believe appointment major decisions are made every 4 years. Okay. Amy saying, I have married for 30 years and we have no finances together. Okay. Okay, Amy, I hear you. Nothing. Everything's separate. I feel I feel you on some of that stuff. That's if you like you said, Wood, if I'm a millionaire kind of an athlete kind of a guy, I definitely I definitely would be the kind of person who would want a prenup. If I'm a Travis Hunter type athlete, mogul or whatever. If I have like something that I pretty much built myself, and it's my business. Not saying that, someone didn't help you build it from the background standpoint, but if it's something that pretty much is my baby that I've put most of my time in and most of my business acumen, most of some of that, I think that definitely before there's a marriage going, if you have that, should definitely be a prenup. Now, if you both come in with nothing and someone is and y'all started from and been together for a long time with nothing, I think there's a little bit of a different story there. Amy saying everything we own is paid for. She's talking about they have different businesses, all houses for Amy. And if Dion did not advise him to do what he did, he should be smacked. Okay, yeah. My opinion on it is definitely have a prenup. Are you going with a prenup, Ethan? Or are you gonna let it ride? Ethan, you might let it ride.
Nah, I've made too many dumb decisions. I've done learned my lessons.
That's why I said I think you might let it ride.
On prenup, nah. I've
Maybe not
already.
nowadays. Not nowadays, huh?
I won't speak to the full extent of like my past, but if I've already been in money situation and been stupid. So I for sure, from my life experiences, getting a prenup if I have millions of dollars.
Got it. Good decision, man. Good decision. He said, oh no, Coach Prime said get a prenup. Oh man. Well, yeah, that's that's interesting, man. And that's something that a lot of young men, in the NFL, they do a symposium for rookies when they come into the league, and they pretty much talk to them about that. They talk about them being targets. They talk about them going to clubs and going out and being pretty much preyed upon, and it's kind of like life lessons number 2, the young adult version, the young wealthy adult version, and what you have to look out for. And that's something that they do. Now, some young men take heed to it and they follow some of those rules, but some of them don't, and a lot of them that don't, they definitely wind up failing. um but hats off to the young man. I wish him well. He's going to be one of the few and only players in a long time who's going to play significant time on both sides of the ball. So I'm looking forward to that. And I just saw that also adding to that NFL news, Saquon was the the Madden cover with his backwards jump, his backwards hurdle for the Madden cover. So good on him. Even though I'm a Washington fan, I got to give him credit getting out of New York, going there and being, who he was and really getting an opportunity to really showcase his talent. But I don't care. You know what I heard, Wood? I heard that one of my buddies who is a huge, like you, huge Cowboy fan, he actually says he's starting to come around on Brian Schottenheimer after hearing him speak lately. Give me your opinion on that. I need to get your opinion before we go here.
Nah, I'm not in on that. He's
not in, huh?
No, not at all. I could be wrong. Obviously, I'm a fan, so I wish him well. But it's just the same old. It's just
Minion?
the same old. It's just the same old puppet for Jerry and Steve, and do what we say. Go to press conferences, say good things, have good. Yeah, we're changing the philosophy. We're going to have fun. Yeah, but you haven't signed Michael Parsons to an extension. You haven't. Dak is still hurt. You haven't really improved your offensive line very much. I think the tackle is going to be good, but no, I'm not buying.
Guard's going to be good. Boy, you got from Alabama. He's going to be good.
Hey, Joe Milton going to get to play any? I mean, how you feeling about Joe Milton?
I don't know. We'll see. Dak will probably get hurt, but we'll see. But no, I'm not buying those wolf tickets he's selling, Law. Everything is good. Fa la 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 la, and we're all great and everything. I love my guys and all this. I'm not buying it.
You ain't buying it. Okay. All right. Well, that is another great show. Let me get your closing monologues and stay on here before we close on out. But let's get your closing monologues. I'm coming to you first, Ethan. Talk to me. Give me your closing monologue, man.
Well, I'll be interested to see after this board meeting what will transpire, whether it's the standard meeting they always have, or if it is a special meeting maybe that we don't know about. I think time will tell what happens with UVA sports in the next 2 years as far as where this program and university is going to go as a whole.
All right. Let me come to you, Wood. Closing monologue, sir.
I'll piggyback off what Ethan said. It'll be interesting to see where UVA sports are the upcoming year. A lot of the spring sports, baseball, we'll see what happens there. Lacrosse is not as good as they have been. Football, we'll see what happens. Basketball, I mean, there's a lot of question marks across the board, but so the state of UVA athletics, it's in limbo right now. So I'm somewhat excited to see what happens. I definitely want to see who the baseball hire is, and I want to see what happens at the boards of visitors meeting and see if there's any major changes. But I don't know. It's a weird spot for baseball, lacrosse, football, baseball. I mean, they've been
All of it.
football, give or take, but those other sports have been, premier programs in the country, national championship contenders, and I don't think we're that anymore. So it's kind of depressing a little bit, but we'll see. Maybe we'll rebound. But I'm interested to see what comes out of these meetings and see who we hire in baseball.
And who would have thought women's basketball is one of the more stable programs right now in UVA sporting and sports department, sporting land. So that's just interesting to me how things can turn on a dime. Amy, safe travels to you. She's going to Vegas on Thursday. Enjoy yourself. Don't get too drunk out there, but enjoy yourself out there, Amy. Safe travels, and we'll look for you to coming back.
Put it all
Thank
on
you,
red,
Antonio.
Amy. Bet it all on red.
On red, huh?
Yeah, all your
Thank
money
you,
on red.
Antonio. And Amy Marie, swimming. Okay. What a swimming meet. Okay. But yeah. But I can tell you, it's been another great show. We gotta thank you for hanging out, all of you for hanging out, spending time with us. But as of now, the shop is closed. Thank you guys, and we'll see you next week.